Firstly, look at this image. What do you notice, or what strikes you about this image? Stand at this side.
It's quite striking in contrast, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Definitely the contrast, yes. Any other opinions?
What's acceptable in different parts of the world.
For sure.
Yeah.
So acceptability is key there, I think.
Gender issues.
Gender issues, definitely at the forefront as well. So within this image, it really is telling the importance of understanding intercultural awareness. So I think this really sells what I'm looking at in my own research. And I think the importance of it in our classrooms today. So where has this research come from? It has been informed from many different areas within my own experience. Firstly, just to tell you a bit about myself, I was teaching in Dubai for 5 years. And firsthand, I really noticed the cultural difficulties. I faced this a lot while I was there. So for instance, one example of this, I never knew when it was appropriate to shake an Arab man's hand. And this came across during parent-teacher meetings. As well as that, I was a manager of an English department there, and it was my responsibility to send teachers home, and they had to change, or it was my responsibility to tell them they had to change because they weren't adhering to the dress code. So clearly there were issues of cultural difficulties involved here. But not only that, another element of this from my own research is the global trends today. There are numerous teachers in education, engineers, medical staff going out to this part of the world. And we really need to enhance these international relations. So as well as that, just looking at my master's thesis, I focused on Irish teachers in the Gulf, looking at what are the challenges that they face. And this really informed my PhD research. I found out there really is genuinely a lack of intercultural awareness. And that's what I'm looking at. That is the excitement of my PhD research. So moving on to what are the real stakeholder groups that I'm looking at? Well, firstly, I'm looking at Irish teachers in the Gulf region. What are their needs? What are their challenges? How can we develop their intercultural awareness? But as well, I'm looking at another side, another group. So I'm looking at localized groups of managers that have a different perception of their needs. And how can the two groups meet in order to successfully work together? So I'm triangulating the research from different points of view. So with this, moving on, I think the importance of the iceberg cultural theory really dictates my research. It's not what you see on the top, like the image I showed you in regards to dress code, but it's what's underneath, the beliefs, the norms, the trends. I think it's important to know these. So moving on from that, I really want to look at teachers and managers. What is their own perceptions of their intercultural awareness? But as well, when they move out there, is their intercultural awareness shaped or changed over a period of time? How can this inform our own training programs, both in Mary I and in UL, but as well as that to the wider community? What are ELT language teachers' needs today in order to work successfully in the classroom? And I hope that this research will bring to light some of these issues. Okay. So moving on from that, how am I going to do this? The methods that I'm choosing. Well, 3 concise methods over 2 stakeholder groups. So firstly, I'm going to survey a large number of teachers, about 100 teachers that are currently working out there. I want to find out the overall trends. What is going on? How are they developing their intercultural awareness? As well as that, I'm looking at my second stakeholder group, which are localized managers, interviewing a small number, about 5 to 10, to find out what are their issues, what are their needs, and how they differ. So I really want to get that intercultural link. Okay? And then the third element, I'm going to basically look at a case study over a longitudinal study over a 2-year period. And that, I think, will be key. How it will differ from the first element. The first element will look at trends over a short period of time, maybe solely novice teachers. And then lastly, the longitudinal study will be over a 2-year period. So a long time to figure out, have these instances changed or developed. So I really hope that this research will inform not only our own practitioner, but as well bringing it forward into future programs. Now, what has been said in the theory? I've read a lot, and I suppose nowadays, looking at the literature, there's a lot on culture and the elements linked to cultural awareness, but not a huge amount of research in my area, in the Arabic context. And I find that you hear every day a lot of anecdotal accounts, not enough empirical research. You read newspaper articles, you hear about how certain groups are stereotyped in the media. So I haven't found a lot of this on my particular area in the research. So that does show the gap there that I'm trying to address. I really like this one quote. So it really portrays, Akasha was a theorist looking at American teachers of Arab students. And here he shows the linguistic and cultural differences do occur. There's a lack of understanding of the curriculum and pedagogy, our own teaching. As well as that, there's a lack of motivation. For sure, religious and lifestyle differences do occur. And maybe that came through in the image I showed you today. As well as that, there's a general lack of cultural awareness, which I hope my research will shed light on. And not only that, we can all address this, the negative stereotypes that do happen. So I think that's quite a striking quote. As well as that, I quite like this one. As we all are global citizens today, you're all teaching different nationalities. I think it's important, not only moving from one culture to another, but being sensitive and intelligent about this feature. And clearly in this image, it shows again how intercultural awareness can shape or change our own views. So what am I going to do within this research? What is the point of it? So my research impact is going to shed light wholly on culture and intercultural awareness, but moving down specifically to undergrad and postgrad courses, both in Mary I here and in UL, and training courses in general. I think that this should feature as an element in teacher training. Not only that, I do think it has a wider application to other professional groups going out to this part of the world. So like your medicine or like your engineers, examples like this. Some takeaway points that I think might be important for you today. Some strategies that you can use in your own classroom. For example, express an interest and a curiosity within the different cultures that are present in your classrooms. Authentic materials. I think it's fantastic to use not only, we're using English File, New English File, all these books that are predominantly English-based or British-focused, that we have a variety of authentic material to engage our learners within different groups. I think another tip for you to take away today is to create a little learner profile. To have maybe their common errors, let's say predominantly Brazilian might be in your class, that you would have a little profile showing their common errors and some insights into the culture, and that you can bring that out in your class. Okay? 3 questions that I'd like you to think about for just a moment. What does valuing diversity look like in your classroom? Do I possess any cultural biases that may influence my own teaching practice? And how can I build rapport with my students? On that note, some useful resources that you might want to have a look at. Cramsh talks a lot about the entwined relationship between language and culture and how you can foster this within the classroom environment. Only in Dubai, fascinating read about the stereotypical how you would deal with intercultural challenges or cultural shock. And the last one, the integration of foreign language and cultural teaching. That fifth skill, on top of your reading, writing, listening, speaking, the importance of culture in the classroom.